Hello and welcome to the first instalment of the HEDCAMz sort of podcast we're going to be doing on our how-to videos and just exploring some of the features of our new cameras. So this camera here is the new ISAW A3 EXtreme. So basically in this video we're just going to have a look over some of the features and benefits that you may find with this camera over some others on the market. As you can see though, it is the big kind of shape in comparison to our HEDCAM, which is considerably smaller. This is the new HEDCAM. It's going to be the HEDCAM 1080. It's actually the one that we're posting a lot about at the moment. Still in pre-production. This is one of our demo units at the moment. You may see at some of our shows. Now, the ISAW, I'm just going to pop it out of the case. So we're going to have a look at some of the features and what the buttons do. Obviously the case there is waterproof up to 60 meters. Let's pop that down. Okay. So as you can see, the camera's very small. You know, on a hand it's not too big at all really. It does feel a little bit bulky though if you were to wear it on top of your head, but great for mounting everywhere else, even just handheld use as well. Now it is full HD as you can see, and it'll shoot full HD 1080p at 60 frames a second or 30 frames, and you can convert between NTSC and PAL as well. My favourite feature about this camera though is the shooting at 720p at 120 frames a second. So let's go ahead and look at what some of the things on this camera do. So on the top, singular button there, it is our record on and off button. So we're going to press that. Camera flashes. Now there are multiple LEDs on this to tell you that it's recording rather than just one. There we go, we can see the screen at the moment. So it does have the screen, it's non-removable, and it doesn't actually use too much of the battery life. If you set it to auto off, we'll probably be having a look at that in some of our other videos. Now as you can see, in comparison to my SLR camera we're using to film this video, you can see how wide that actually is there. So around the sides of the camera we've got a HD, it's like a mini HDMI kind of port there, and your standard USB port that you get on the cameras. We've got our menus buttons, we'll have a look at those in just a second. Around this side, if we pop open this here, we've got a removable battery, which is great for going ahead and being able to swap your battery out if it does run out. We'll just put that back in. Clicks in, and we also have the micro SD, just pops in just next to it, just above my nail. It's quite hard to see just there, and there's a slot so you can remove the SD card without actually having to take the cover off. You do have to have a bit of a longer nail though to be able to do that, so it's to stop you doing it accidentally. Now let's get it back on. Okay, so if we have a look at the moment, the camera's telling us how it's set up. So the zoom is 1 times now. I think it's up to 4 times. It's got a digital zoom built in, and we've got, so we know it's in movie mode, digital zoom built in. How much space is remaining on your memory card? Obviously your battery. It's set to manually film at the moment, so that will start and stop as and when we press the buttons. We've got 1080p at 60 frames a second, so it's going to be shooting in the highest quality. Super fine, you can adjust that. I'd recommend never to touch that one. And oh, screen's off. And the Wi-Fi is turned off, obviously to conserve power. We'll be looking at that in another episode as well, linking your Wi-Fi to your Android or iOS device. Okay, so on the back, the 2 buttons. Bottom one, if we press and hold, switches to photo mode. Same kind of features at the bottom. Obviously tells you what's going on there. Press again, it'll ask us if we want to view the video files. If we press that button, just tapping it, it's going to take us over to if we want to view photos. You can just cycle through. Pressing and holding will take us back to video. Now there's a top button as well. If we press and hold that top button, it will take us through the menu. Now in the menu at the moment we've got our video settings, we've got our photo settings. Now that each feature has a quick menu built in as well, so you can go and change some of those settings in there. So at the moment, just like that M was before, we're actually set to manually record 1080p 60 frames a second, and the quality was that super fine. Again, pressing that bottom button cycles through up and down. Top button, so that's these two buttons here, bottom, top. Top button takes us through the different options at the top. So photos, you can choose our options within photos and our enhancements. Now this is where the camera really comes into it. So we're going to go and have a look though at those other settings. So the settings, the individual settings for videos and photos, probably in two separate how-to tutorials that'll talk a little bit about what each of those do. But in this one we'll have a look at what really makes it stand out. So you can actually adjust things like, if you want the timestamp on, nope, sorry, let's go back to that. So we've got timestamp, we've got the one below that we're currently set on is aqua mode, and we've got field of view. Now obviously timestamp, if you've got the date and time set correctly, you'll be able then to view your time and date stamp on the screen. So if you're using it for evidential purposes, your time and date will be recorded as well as the video. You have an aqua mode. Now if you've seen any of the videos on our website, we've just put one on from Croatia where now aqua mode was turned on most of the time I was underwater. So aqua mode basically is allowing the camera to compensate for some of the colours lost underwater. So normally things look a little bit more dull under there. So this really helps bring out the colours. Now remembering to turn it off when you're on land, not the end of the world, just the colours look a little bit deeper than they normally would. And the great other feature just there is we can actually go in and adjust the field of view. So if you don't need it to be super duper wide, we can go for wide, we can go sort of narrow, and we can go medium as well. So wide, medium and narrow, all there. We're gonna, and to select an option you just tap that top button again. Last one across the top there, we've got our overall settings. We can go in and adjust things like mic volume. So if it's not hearing too much, you can turn that up, you can turn it down if you're in a really noisy environment. Obviously with the waterproof case it's not going to record much sound on anyway. It does have an open back door which will allow the mic to function much better. The buzzer, so the things like the beeps that it's pressing now, obviously the LEDs for flashing. If you want to be discreet recording, then LEDs don't have to flash. You guys should got your Wi-Fi on and off there. Okay. We've got the TV at the moment is set to NTSC, so we can go ahead and do that. You can change that to PAL. Obviously that will change the frame rates as well. Instead of being 60 frames, it would be 50 and so on. We've got our time and date stamp, so you could choose the time and date correctly. You can format the whole memory card, and we can go back to the default settings. We've got a couple of others there. So the auto LCD off, it's a good thing to have that turned on. So if you are using the camera and you put it somewhere to do something like a time lapse, or you've got it on your helmet, you can't see the screen, you're obviously not going to need to see it, so let it turn itself off, save a lot of power. That will. Auto power off as well, so the camera, as you see the LCD panel, this will go to sleep. If it's not recording and that happens after a certain amount of time, it will turn itself off if you've got that feature accepted. Again, great for saving battery, especially if you think it's off and you've put it in your bag and it's not. And the info as well, now that will change, you know, if we'll just go back to that so we can see it without the blue above it. And there we go, so info at the moment, we're on version 1.1. That will change as things come in and update on the camera. I'd imagine ISAW will release updates, they have done in the past for their other cameras. Little things like if there's any bugs or anything that they notice, they'll go ahead and update those, and maybe even some other features and benefits that this amazing camera can use. One last thing I want to point out is that this camera actually uses a Sony Exmor sensor, and the great thing that is going to give us a benefit of is a lot less rolling shutter than you would see in other cameras. So if you're sitting with your camera attached to a motorbike or something like that, sometimes you'll notice a jelly effect on some of the on some other cameras, but actually on this camera itself, through all the tests that we've done with it, we haven't noticed any rolling shutter at all. Obviously you just get the standard vibration that you would from something like a motorbike, depending on where you mount it. Okay, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video of just some of the basic features of the ISAW A3 EXtreme. We will be back shortly with some more how-tos.